Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I am happily back with some more Assault Red Horizon 41. We're going to jump right back in where we left off, which is exciting because we're going to get into some shooting and some dice throwing, and this is going to be good. One thing I did want to mention, I had actually missed this in the previous video. If you guys notice, the boards flip, by the way. I turned it upside down so the tanks would be right side up. Cards are still on the same side, but it's same map, same, everybody is where they were. I just rotated the map. So the machine guns are actually up there. They were the ones that moved across down here at the bottom in the last part of our video, but it was the heavy machine guns. And I had them do a fast action, but they're slow. They can't do a fast action. I'm going to go ahead and let it ride because I do make mistakes like that occasionally, and we'll just leave it where it is because they're being penalized now. So they got an extra hex out of it, but their attack's going to be a little bit worse off for this turn. So I figured I'd go ahead and leave that on there for them. Now this one is going to be a key turn because the tanks are right up here on top of each other. That Panzer 38T is right here. The T-35s are both right here. Got him in their lines of sight, so this could be bad for one side or the other depending on how things pan out. Because unfortunately, when the mortar tried to pop in some smoke to cover this up, he was unable to fill these two hexes. If he had been able to at least block this one, that would have given them cover to move their tanks up while they were advancing, but they didn't, so there's a clear line of sight here. So, just like before, we will grab our little dice tower here, figure out who's going to have initiative. Red, as usual, for the Soviets. And the Germans got it. Oh, that's so bad for the Soviets. That is so bad for them. Because they really needed to be first. Because whoever was first was going to be the first to take a shot with their tank. That's gonna affect things. So the Germans are going to get to go first on this round. As usual, we've got to decide where to place out our command points. This, again, is one of my favorite parts of this. All right, we know we've got to put 2 on our T-35s here. I keep blanking on the damn name of those things. We have to do that because they've got to get their shots off, even though they're being penalized because I did fast actions with them on the previous turn. We got to go for it. We got to try to get some rounds down range. The cavalry squad here as well, they're up and they've got a line of sight on some machine guns, so we know we want to go for them. Want to move up our snipers, and I'm thinking move up our machine gun. Yeah, we'll move up the machine gun and get them going. We got to get these guys moving, but that only leaves me 2. Oh, we'll put them on a couple of infantry squads. Yeah. Oh, that's a key decision. It's like, where do you put these command points? Because you want to activate everything, but you can't activate everything. Oh, God, I love that. All right, let's take a peek here at the Germans and see what we're going to activate with them. They have more units on the board and more command points. All right. Panzer 38T absolutely has to be activated. He is up front, so he definitely has to get moving. I was thinking I would move up the mortars, but now I'm not so sure. Maybe move them up later. I know I want to try to take a shot with those machine gunners because even if they are suffering a penalty, they've still got dice attacks, still want to throw some downrange because they're going to be taking some fire. Give me some options with them. We've moved both the tanks. Okay, we need at least one tank going. Those tank hunters, I think I'm going to leave them where they're... Well, no, I want to move them up a little bit too. Because they need to get close. They do good. They're okay. They can shoot. But they can do some real good damage if they can get on top of tanks. Like close combat, throw some stick grenades down the hatches or whatever it is they're doing. Kind of want to move those guys up. So yeah, we'll go for them. Yeah, we're going to have to skip the mortars this time. Yeah, we'll do both tanks, both the Panzer IVs and the Panzer 38, and that'll leave us 3 that we can dump on the rifles, and I think we got 5 rifles on the board. Yeah, that gives us at least 3 of the rifles to activate, and we'll skip the mortars this turn. Okay, so as we're looking at it, we've done our initiative phase, planning phase. Support phase, we actually can't do anything because the only person who can be activated did not get a command token. So we go straight into the action phase, which means the Germans get to activate. And I know what I'm activating right off the bat, because if I don't, he might not get a chance to activate, which is going to be this Panzer 38T here. And he's going to be taking some shots. All right, we've got two T-35s right here, boom, boom, directly in front of him, range of, what is this, about 5 hexes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 hexes to both. Now, let's see. At that range, that means he's going to be using this top line, not bottom line, top line for vehicles, armored vehicles. And he's going to be using this middle one because he is farther than 3 hexes, but under 10. So right there means he gets only a yellow and a green. That's not great. It's not horrible. It's not great. We can work with that. Oh, and just in case I haven't mentioned this, I was eyeballing it again. This little symbol is a blast symbol. It's actually for future expansions. So this does not actually come into play yet in the game. But we're putting some rounds downrange, and that's what we want. All right. And looking at this, I think we're going to go after this, the lower T-35, because you measure, if you look at the hexes, there's a little dot there in the center of them, and that's where you're drawing your line of sight from. And looking at that, there's nothing in between these two, right there in his front arc, straight against the T-35's front arc. And yeah, nothing in the way. But if we were to go after that lower one, while we wouldn't hit the smoke, we would touch across this, and that would actually give this T-35 an extra bonus die, this brush terrain, whatever that one's called. So we'll go after the lower one. That's the one that's going to get the least amount of defense dice against us. All right, so we know the Panzer 38 is going to roll this as his attack dice, right? So that's what he gets. Now looking at our T-35, we have to figure out what arc he's coming in. So make sure you're looking at the right side front of the tank, considering it does flip back and forth between the different factions. So for front, for this one, is going to be a green and a yellow as well. So it looks like it's just going to be a straight up dice off. And the terrain that he's in does provide, provides a green die, but only to infantry and to artillery, but nothing for vehicles. And since it is open terrain, there's no defense bonus for him. We don't have to worry about spotting. He's automatically considered spotted. So there's nothing going on with that. It's going to be a straight dice off. It's in his arc, so not out of arc, nothing like that going on, just straight up attack. Now, something I did want to mention about these tokens while I'm thinking about it. The attack die -1, and this is the result of doing a fast action the previous turn. The one thing I don't like about these is the fact that it shows a red die, but it actually removes the weakest die, and the weakest die is a blue die in the structure, but it's not necessarily blue die. It just removes whatever your weakest die is. So I think it would have been better to have a blue die symbol on that instead, just to mnemonically remind yourself that it's the lowest of the die that gets removed from your attack, but not a huge deal, just a minor quirk with it. All right, we're going to have a dice off. So what you do is you roll your attacker's die, you figure out what they get, their hits, their crits, their suppressions, all that good stuff. And then you roll the defender's die, once you've added and subtracted any dice that they get, and you compare the two results, and they effectively cancel each other out. If the attacker has anything left, then he scored those hits. All right, so let's roll our attack. And that's not bad. That's, hell, perfect trifecta. He got one of everything. He got a suppress, he got a critical hit, and he got a actual hit, just one wound. So we roll our defense die, and if they roll the exact same thing, then they'll cancel it all out. Ooh, not quite. Now, thankfully, there is a little chart in here in the rulebook that shows this, but really it's easy to understand. You can cancel out anything equal to or under what you have, okay? So as we're looking at these two separate die roll, this has 3 results, this has 2, but we can't use these 2 hits to cancel out the worst of it, right? This is a hit and a crit. We can use it, however, to cancel out the one hit and then use this remaining hit to cancel out that suppression. Unfortunately, that still leaves a critical hit going through against the T-35. So just remember that you can cancel equal to or under. Okay, so now that we know what's going through, we can pull these off, but we do know a critical hit has gone through, which is good because it gives me a chance to explain a few things. One thing a crit hit does automatically is apply 1 point of damage. So we can go ahead and place the 1 point of damage because we know he's going to have that. Now, there's a little chart, and honestly, I would have liked to have seen this on a player aid because I can't remember all of it off the top of my head, but there's a little ditty down here of what happens with critical hits. And there's special effects that happen versus infantry and artillery, and then special effects of what happens against vehicles, or what can happen against vehicles. All right, so what you're going to do is for each critical hit that remains after the defense die rolled by the vehicle, the attacking player is given a green die, and the defending player is given a blue die. So for each critical hit, we only have one, so the attacker gets the green, defender gets the blue. Bam, just like that. Then you're going to roll, and you're going to do the same thing, comparison roll. Cancel out, that type stuff. And what you're looking for is if there's anything remaining. And remember, this can be up to multitude of critical hits. So for each critical hit that the attacker has left, all right, that weren't canceled out in the original attack, they're going to get a green die. So it's not just one die versus one die. It's one die for each critical hit, and the defender does get one die for each green that the attacker gets on the chance to cancel it out. But remember, that green is more powerful than that blue. So again, looking at it, if during this comparison roll there's a critical hit remaining, no more damage points, but the vehicle's immobilized. If it was already immobilized, it's destroyed. If you roll a damage point that isn't canceled out, the vehicle performs a fallback. If it's an immobilized vehicle, it's eliminated. If it's already marked fallback before receiving it, then it's eliminated. And then if it's a suppression, if you have a suppression left over, it becomes suppressed. And then if it was suppressed already before receiving the critical hit, it performs a fallback instead. So it finishes that up there. So there's a lot of if this, then this, then this, and this. So let's see what they're going to get. If they whiff on this, then there's no critical damage. No, they got a hit. So, just to remind myself, because my memory's shit from landmines. All right. It will perform a fallback if it is not canceled out by this die. This die has a lot of blanks, 3 blanks, 2 hits, and a suppression. So we are hoping for 2 results on here. A suppression will not be enough to cancel out that hit. We have to have one of those 2 hit markers. No, the suppression is not enough. It will not cancel it out. So they are immediately hit with a fallback. All right, and this is actually really, really going to suck for us. Let me pull this out of the way. Grab a fallback marker here. It will say suppressed on the other side of it. So you see we've got a fallback, and a fallback is a yellow marker, which means it's going to flip at the end of the round to suppressed. It's so horrible. Oh, they got crushed on this. All right. So what happens with this is you see that it's got the same symbol as a fast action. And I like this because it's a mnemonic reminder. What they're essentially doing in a fallback is they are moving away from the enemy. They're going to retreat as if they're taking a fast action away, and they have to continue that. And if they can't continue for whatever reason, they end up taking a damage point. So we want him to move as far away as he can. It says other modifiers don't affect it. As far as I understand it, I do not believe the T-35's special rule as far as it being mechanical prone to errors comes into play on this, but hopefully the designer will let me know if I'm wrong on that. But the way I've read it, I don't think it applies. He's going to move as far away as he can. We've got 4 points to do it. And Looking at a little chart here, as far as how many points it's going to take, he's tracked movement depending on what type of terrain it is. Now, here's the thing. He's facing this way, and reverse movement has a limit on it. Hold on, let me look. Okay, so I was checking it just to remind myself, and when moving in reverse, a vehicle's movement is reduced by half, rounded up. So he effectively has 4 movement points, which means it would drop down to 2. I'm not sure if they're required to turn around, though. This isn't something that's 100% fleshed out in the rules, so it might be me overthinking the issue. But like this one's here in the road. So if he were to do a fallback, he could rotate freely. So I would rotate him 180 degrees and have him move out that way. What I'm instead going to do is just a flat reverse movement for this one, keeping him pointed this way, because that's my best interpretation of what's happening. Now, I could be wrong. I could be overthinking this, but this is what I think is right for him. So we're going to keep him moving backwards. Boom. That's 2 movement points. Another 2 movement points. We'll mark him as fall back, and he's got his damage points on him. And then after all that, we'll finally mark this Banjo 38 as fired. Finally. Now, unfortunately, that means we have effectively wasted one of our command points for the Soviets because he's spent for this turn. He's done. He's fallen back. He's shot. So we've lost a command point. We're effectively operating 1 down. Okay, for the Soviets' next activation, since they just took a shellacking and they've had one of their tanks take a pretty severe wound, and he's effectively going to be out for 2 rounds because he's had to fall back, and the next round he's going to be suppressed. That's bad. We're going to activate this T-35, and we're going to have him scoot. So I have to have him roll 1 or 2. He's going to be having less movement points, but it doesn't matter anyway. He's just got to go up 1. So, boom, he's good. So nothing to worry about there. And it's just how far I want to move him up, because I want to get him within 4. Because within 4, he's got more firepower. And if I move him just to there, he would have that. But if I move to there and fire, I would skim that smoke, which I don't think it's going to affect it since it'll be along the hex side, and still be within 4 hexes, and I believe that would give him some defensive modifiers. Let's look here. Brush, because I believe that's brush. Yeah, it's tracing line of sight, but it doesn't give tanks a defensive bonus. They don't get that. They only get it in light forest, rocky forest, heavy forest, wooden buildings, and he does not have the movement point to get to there. I can't get him anywhere that he's going to be in a really good firing position, so I guess it really doesn't matter where I move him to. Yeah, we'll just have him move up along the road, give me options. Yeah, we'll just leave him there. We'll just have him move up the 1 and have him do an attack. We're going to do a move and attack here. And thinking about it anyway, he would only had 2 movement points, so I couldn't have got him too far. Regardless, I would have only been able to get him 1 hex farther up this way or that way. Or I could actually park him right on the objective. That's actually a better idea. Park him right on the objective, right there in the center of the map. Okay, so unfortunately, he's still suffering under the penalty of that fast action he did on the previous turn, so he's going to lose his worst die. Not his best die, his worst die. So he's actually going to lose that blue die. That is unfortunate. And something I forgot about is these guys are tall, so Dummy over here should have got a reroll when conducting either close combat or ranged fire. They get a reroll, so that attack could have been even worse for it, but we'll have to keep that in mind. That's one of the things I like, and one of the things that's a personal, very personal drawback is that I have a hard time keeping all the special rules in my mind. That's just because of the brain injury thing. So don't take me missing little small tidbits like that as a negative against the game. That's just my own personal problem with having shit for brains. But anyway, we're going to do our attack. He's going to get a red and a yellow. So he's got a couple of good dice. And the cool part is he's got the multi-turret, which unlike other tanks that would get a penalty for firing outside of their firing arc, he doesn't get that. They get 360-degree fire. So he's getting that, not having to trace it through smoke. He is firing at the Panzer 38 that is in road terrain, so he's not getting any bonuses from that. And his inherent defense die are actually decent. No, they're better than the T-35s by a lot. That's so horrible. Look at that. If I had got him, the top is a lot better, double green. But even a flank shot would have been better, but he's got effectively the same damn dice. Oh, it's another equal roll-off. I didn't think his armor was that good, that Panzer 38. Damn, that's horrible. That's sad. I was hoping for a better attack. Okay, well, it would be better if, we'll just set it here, if I didn't have that attack penalty coming on to me. But that's all right. Let's see how well he can do here. He's got the red boy. He just needs to hit him hard. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. 3 hits and a suppression. Always gotta love those double hits. All right, so let's see what the defense is gonna get. All right, they're taking something. They're gonna take 1 single point of damage because he's got 2 hits blocked, suppression blocked. Yep, so all that work for a single plink against this Panzer 38. Damn. I was hoping for more than that because I kind of hung that T-35 out to dry. Now he's probably going to get smoked. All right, we got a couple minutes left in this round. Or in this video rather, I want to take and fire with these guys because I know I'm firing on them next with my Soviet infantry, so I want them to fire before something bad happens to them. And they're already getting a penalty. They're going to be firing at the mid-range, and now we get to see a spotting attempt have to come into play. So they're getting a red, yellow, and green. Let me grab that out before I forget. And they are actually going to lose that. Now let me pan the camera up just a bit because they are going to fire here. This is a range of 6 hexes against these cavalry infantry, which again are just in infantry. And unfortunately, since they did that fast move that they weren't supposed to do in the previous turn, they do lose their weakest die. So this green one's going to come out. Remember, again, I shouldn't have allowed them to do it, but we're sticking with it because they get a penalty this round. So that's going to reduce their die by a couple. And now we got to figure out the defense and if they are spotted. So the cavalry are going to get an inherent yellow die. Nothing blocking line of sight, but they are in, see, I think the grayish buildings are wood. They're in a stone building. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, look at that. Red, yellow, and green. Red, yellow, and green. Boom. Those are the defense die. That's huge defense, man, and it gets even worse if they are not spotted. So for the spotting, I do believe they're just going to need a 2+ to be able to spot them. Yep, target in the arc of fire. This would apply for vehicles. It's not going to apply for infantry since they are 360 degrees and they're firing at infantry. So they just need a 2+ on the D6 to have spotted them. No! They got the one. You got to be kidding me. They do not spot them. Okay. So since they did not spot them, we actually have to look at this ranged modification chart. Spotting roll failed. Now, if it's against a vehicle, you lose your attack. If you don't spot the vehicle, you can't fire at them. Here, we can still fire, but there's another penalty. They get another die added. And depending on the type of fire, depends on what type of die gets added. For us, we are just performing a fire attack, so they're going to get another green defense die added to their roll. Good grief. This is going to be just bad for them. All right, so we're going to go ahead and mark them as spotted. Look at this. Wow, huge stack of defense die coming in for the Germans. All right, they better roll real hot to be able to get any type of attack through. That's not real hot. I mean, a double is better than nothing, but 3 hits, I think they should be all right. Watch it. It's going to be an entire whiff. Cool. Good God, it was close. I saw the 2 blank die. I was like, you got to be kidding me. All right, so that alone is enough to block it out. Remember that crit can block out a hit. This suppression wouldn't have done anything since they didn't have any suppressions, but they were able to block their entire attack. So nothing they had went through. All right, so just to finish out even for this video, we'll just have one good turn deserve another. We'll have the cavalry infantry fire at the machine gun that just fired at them. And regardless, they're already spotted. They're out in the open and they've already fired, so they're going to be spotted. The funny part is, due to everything, it's going to be another just even roll. That's their attack dice. They're getting a green and a yellow. And that's the defense dice, a green and a yellow. The clear terrain that they're in actually give infantry a green die, and they get a natural yellow one for just existing. And that's their attack. That's just too funny. All right, let's see what the attackers get. Oh, weak sauce, man. Weak sauce. Suppression. Okay. See if we can get a suppression, even though it's not going to do anything but make them more defensible now. Nope. Nothing goes through. All blocked off. That one single double was enough to take that out. Okay, so we end this video out. Yeah, so far the Germans are doing a fair bit better. They've damaged the 38T or T-35. Seeing him backwards. And he's had to run away. And the Soviets were able to damage the Panzer 38. But the bad part is their T-35's on the objective, but now he's kind of hung out to dry. Because there's a couple of Panzer IVs that still have yet to activate. That's open terrain. He could push through. Nah, he's not going to have really enough. He's only got 2 movement points if he wants to attack and fire. So yeah, that's going to be a problem. See, because the stacking rules here is 1 unit per hex. There's a couple of exceptions, but generally it's 1 unit per hex. So the thing is, if I activate these infantry first, get them out of that hex, then this Panzer IV can move up and fire on the T-35. Now, T-35 will get some bonuses because of firing through this light woods, but that's okay. Unfortunately, with this 38T here, he's right in the way of that Panzer IV, so the Panzer IV can't get up and get into that square to get a shot. Maybe he can just shoot through him, though. Might have him do that. Or, well, no, he wouldn't have enough to move into there, so that wouldn't work for him either. I have to figure out. I might just race him forward and figure out what I'm going to do with him later. Or come in on a flank, have him come around down here and hit him from the low side. That way I'm attacking him from 2 different angles. Take a couple of turns to get over there, but he might be able to get a little something done. Yeah, definitely got to say, I like the game. I like the dice off. It's easy to understand, you know, how they work out. You're just looking to see what symbols match, which ones do. You wipe those out. What's left is your damage, if there's anything left. Real easy system. I'm definitely digging it so far. You guys definitely post any questions or comments you have down below. And if the designer, Wolfgang, happens to see this, let me know what you think about the retreat that I was talking about over here. If I handled that right or not, if I was reading that correctly. All right, but that's going to be it for me for this one. You guys take care. I'll see you in the next one.